Hello everybody, I'm Don Counts and we're at the First Presbyterian Church with my friend Perry Hall.
Hey, how you doing?
Perry is always around doing something, and now he's got something really cool going on. Something we've talked about for a long time is the balance class here.
That's right,
at
yes.
First Presbyterian. Tell us about what you're doing now.
Well, I hope at this point everyone is familiar with the balance program that we have here at First Presbyterian Church. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we welcome everyone to come. If you haven't been before or you've been, please come back at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That'll get you started. We'd love to have you. You can work on your balance, your fall prevention. There are so many add-on effects to this, including independence and staying at home. So it's a really worthwhile program to get involved in.
Very good. And my mother is involved in it, and she really enjoys it. Tell how it's funded.
Well, we actually have a fund here at church that the money is dedicated to this particular program and also other adult care issues, although we don't really have any there, but any at the moment, other than the balance program. But we're also now launching a community raising benefit, if you will. And this is donation based, but we're doing an international cooking series. We're going to launch this with a gourmet Italian dinner. So we're doing authentic cuisine from Italy, and then we hope to introduce other cultures as well over time if this one's a success.
Very good. And today, as we promote this event, coming up when?
It will be May 5th, which is a Saturday, starting at 6 o'clock in the evening here at First Presbyterian Church in the Family Life Center. So we only have a limited number of tickets, so if you are interested, please get your ticket very quickly. We do expect that they will sell out pretty quickly. We're asking for a $60 donation, which will reserve your place card for a seat at the dinner.
Very good. And we'll have more information about that on Channel 6 as it rolls through here in the next few days. And today, tell us what we're going to do. You're going to get a little preview of what this night is going to be about.
That's exactly correct. So today, I'm actually preparing the first course for you, which is going to be ravioli con maize, which is ravioli stuffed with cheese and corn.
Very good.
So we're going to sample that, and hopefully that'll get your interest and let you know that we're actually doing a really worthwhile meal. We're asking for a $60 donation per ticket, and we'd love to see you there on May 5th.
May 5th, it will be here, and it's going to be great. And Perry's going to give us a demonstration of a little bit about what you're going to have that night and what you're going to see that night. So, and then at the end of the thing, Perry, when you get through, we're going to reiterate the times and the dates. So as you watch this and you see, man alive, I've got to go, Perry's going to tell you again at the end of the program when and where and how to get your tickets. So let's move over, Perry, and see what you got.
That sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to the kitchen at First Presbyterian Church, and as we mentioned, we're going to be cooking the first course for our Italian gourmet dinner that we're hosting on May 5th, and we're actually doing everything from scratch, and we're going to start with some homemade pasta. And a lot of you, I'm sure, think, oh, it doesn't make a difference and I can buy that, and it is very easy to do that. But if you're a bread maker in particular, pasta is not really hard, and actually anyone can do it. It's very straightforward. All you do, I'm going to try to stay on my, my cutting board here, but you take 2 cups of flour and you make a well in the center. And again, this is the way my mother used to make bread. And we're going to take 3 eggs and add that to the center of the well. And we're going to take a little bit of salt and add that. And then we're going to add some olive oil to this as well. But I like to get this started first with my eggs. And we're just going to start incorporating the eggs with the flour here. So you want to get this mixed up. Just kind of gradually incorporate a little bit more flour as you go. And you're going to see this is going to come together quite quickly. So here we go. And it's going to form a nice dough. And this is going to be silkier than a typical bread dough. But it's going to be really quite easy to work with. So here it's starting to come together. And I'm just going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil. and that's going to help to give it its silky texture. And I try to just do this with one hand. And this is actually really straightforward. It's not complicated, and anyone who does bake bread, it's quite easy to do. It's actually easier to do this than it is actually making bread. You don't have to let this rise. You just pull it all together into its dough. Like so. And there we go. It's starting to actually form its dough now. And you can see that just came together in a matter of minutes. And there's no real kneading to it. The kneading is going to come when you actually roll this out. Now there are pasta machines that you can get. I have one as well. It's a hand crank. There are electric dough makers as well. But I wanted to do this by hand just to show you that you can do it at home if you don't have any special equipment, which, as I said, you don't really need it. But this is something that Italians are very proficient at. Certainly la nonna, who is, that's Italian for grandmother. And actually, when I lived overseas, I visited a friend of mine. She was a work colleague in London, but she was from Rome, outside Rome. And I went there one weekend with some guests of hers, and she had, or her family had cooks, and every morning this is what they did. They would make fresh pasta for the evening meal. So there you go. It's really foolproof. There you go. There's your dough. And we just put this to the side. I'm going to wash my hands quickly. Now, if you have a pasta machine, they're going to roll this out for you. But again, you can do it by hand. You don't need any special equipment. What you have in your home kitchen will work. So this needs to rest. You just want to cover this with plastic foil, and you can refrigerate it overnight if you want and then bring it out. But we're going to pretend that this has been resting for 30 minutes. And we're going to roll this out. So all you want to do is sprinkle your work surface with some flour. And you just kind of pat this out. And again, this is going to actually kind of knead the pasta. We're going to take just a rolling pin, and we're going to start rolling it out. And we're going to do long sheets like you would for lasagna. And you don't have to be too particular with this. If it's not kind of rolling straight, you can actually fold it in, which I'll probably have to do shortly, and I can demonstrate. So again, this is just kind of working your pasta. You just want to keep moving it about to make sure that it doesn't stick to your surface. You're going to roll this pretty thin, so you're going to try to get it a little thinner than you would actually a pie crust if you do that. And you kind of want to start from the center and roll out so that you don't toughen it. So again, we're going to pull this up. So you can see it's a very sturdy dough. It's not going to fall apart with you. So like I said, if you want to kind of clean it up, you just fold it over. We're going to straighten up the edges here. And then I'm going to flip this over. Roll these ends here where it's a little thicker, make sure it gets thin. So again, this pasta you could use for lasagna, because this is what you're doing, you're creating the strips. So that is actually looking pretty good. So as you can see, this is very pliable. It's quite thin. And so we're going to clean this up. And you can just take a pizza cutter, square off your edges. And it doesn't have to be precise or perfect. We're going to do the ends here. And look at that, you have a sheet of pasta. So there you go. We'll just fold this over. Now you can fold it up like this, cover this with a damp tea towel, and you can use it then the next day. So we'll keep in the refrigerator. You just don't want this to dry out. What I have done is I actually have some pasta that I have already made. So as you can see, it's just going to fold out. Give this another little roll. Now this is going to be almost done. So this is only going to take about a couple of minutes in the pasta water. So this is going to be done at the very last minute. There you go, here's the other one. Now then. So here you go, this is what we're going to be working with right here. Let me just make sure my water is boiling. Okay. So I'm going to let this rest here. We're actually going to get started with the stuffing now. And that is going to be fresh corn with ricotta and some onions. So what I have done is I've taken some fresh corn, cut off the kernels, and actually with my pasta water, I've then used those ears of corn to flavor the water. So this is salted water with ears of corn, and you just let that boil for about an hour till the ears get somewhat soft, and then it can stay at room temperature till you're ready to use it. So we are going to get started. Basically, I have about a tablespoon of olive oil in here, and we're going to add the corn. And I'm going to get rid of these while that's warming up. And what I'm also going to add will be some scallions or green onions. I'm going to get a mat here. So I have some already cut, but I'm mincing these. And with scallions, it's really easy to get a nice fine cut. So I'm going to cut my scallion in half. I've cut the roots off, and I've cut the tough green ends off. So you cut this in half, and then you just want to cut this in half again, like lengthways. And then you're just going to chop those. And the green will actually give some nice color to this. So you'll have the yellow corn with the ricotta and then the scallions. So it gives some nice flavor and color. So we're just going to scoop this in here. And what I will do is I'll also add a little bit of butter. We're going to salt. And what I like to do with salt is as I enter things into the pan, and that way it keeps you from just salting at the end, which you often oversalt when you do that. But if you salt a little bit as you go, you find that the final taste is actually much better. So we're just going to add the scallions here and let that cook. So this doesn't take a lot of time. You just want the corn to get a little tender. You want some flavor there as well. And as that cooks, we're going to take just a little bit of white wine and deglaze the pan with that. So you don't want a lot. A quarter to a third of a cup is going to be fine. The alcohol is going to cook off, and so all you're going to get is added flavor. And you want this to cook long enough for the sugars in the wine and the corn to meld, and that's actually going to become a little bit syrupy, and it'll thicken up a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of caution you about cooking this. What we as Southerners tend to do so often is really overcook our food. You just want to kind of lightly cook this so that the flavors are released, and this is actually going to be basically good enough. We can remove this from the pan, from the heat source. And what I have here is ricotta cheese. And we're just going to stir this up. Now ricotta cheese, which is of course an Italian cheese, it's very easy to find now. Just about every mass retailer has this in stock, so it's not a specialty item at all anymore. We can get this here locally, not a problem. So I'm just going to stir this up. And then I'm going to add my corn mixture to this. Okay, we're going to get rid of some of this stuff. And then we're just going to mix this together. And you can see this is a beautiful color here. We have that corn, we have the green from the green onion, and we're going to add a little bit more salt to this. And we're going to add a little bit of pepper as well. And that's it. You're done there. So what we can do now as far as stuffing this, I'm going to take my shorter piece of pasta here. I'm just going to lay this out, and I'm going to take a spoon, and I'm just going to scoop a little bit here along the pasta. You don't need a lot. As a matter of fact, that's probably a little bit too much. And you just kind of move down the line with this, so you can get several ravioli from one strip. And it looks like we're going to get 5, I think. Yeah, I'm not really going to have enough for that last one there. So I'll move that out of the way. I have an egg here. And we're just going to lightly beat this. And this will be our glue, which is going to bind everything together. So I'm just going to take a fork. And just like you would crimp a pie crust, we're just going to do the same here with our pasta to make the ravioli. So you can see this actually doesn't take all that much time. I've done this here for you. I had minimal prep in advance. So again, we're going to do this in between. And there we go. Okay, we're just going to take our longer sheet of pasta and we're going to lay right over that. Okay, and then we're going to cut this Now you can decorate your pasta any way you really want to. Here I've done it very simply. I've just laid one on top of the other. You can, and actually you can serve this. So we're going to press this down. You want to kind of get as much of the air out as you can. So start from around the cheese filling, and you're just going to crimp this down, and the air will come out. Now what you also can do is if you wanted to cut these individually beforehand, you could actually rotate your pasta so that it had corners to it. You would have 8 corners instead of 4. That's a little more trouble, a little more work, and so there we go. So, there we go. So I'm just going to trim these up. That's looking quite nice. Now then, from this, we have 5 ravioli. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fork, I'm just going to crimp the edges. Now you can do circles, as I mentioned, so any shape that you want to your pasta will be fine. Just crimping the edges here. Now with our dinner, we want you to get an authentic Italian experience, and so we actually kind of researched dishes that we could do for you that would be authentic, but something that you wouldn't be able to get locally. So this is not Italian American, this is actually Italian cooking. And there you go, there are the ravioli. Now as I mentioned, you can actually make these in advance as well. Just cover them with a wet tea towel or a wet paper towel, refrigerate them, and you can then cook them actually the next day. So this is something that you can do in advance. Now I have my pasta water here, and again, as I mentioned, I was creating this with the ears of corn, so I'm just going to take these out. My water is boiling here. I'm just going to get rid of this. And as I mentioned before, this is only going to take a couple of minutes. So basically, you're just going to enter them in the pot. You want to stir them, make sure they don't stick. And we're going to start with our actual final course, which will put it all together. So we're going to take our pot, our pan, and while this is cooking, all we're going to do is take some butter. So that is 6 tablespoons of butter right there. And we're going to let this melt. Now we don't want this to get bubbly, we just kind of want this to melt and emulsify. So our pasta is cooking there. And this is going to come together very quickly. So we have our butter here, and it's melting nicely. And this is going to be our sauce, which is very simple. I'm just going to get a spoon to take that out. Because this is done. We're just going to enter this directly into the pot. You don't have to drain this too well, too thoroughly, because the pasta water will actually help to thicken the butter sauce there. And so again, we're just going to actually flip this. Get all that nice butter around the ravioli. So, I hope you can see this wonderful butter sauce that we have here. And what we're going to do is we're going to plate this. So we have a nice little caprese salad here, which is mozzarella cheese, some tomatoes, wrapped in lettuce. And that's a classic Italian salad. We're going to spoon in a little sauce. So everyone's going to get some nice butter over this. And then we're going to finish this off with a little olive oil over the whole thing, the salad and the ravioli. And lastly, we're going to add just a little bit of balsamic vinegar. And that is your raviolo con maize.